Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Moshe product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. On today's episode, Moshe and I are excited to speak with product leader Elena Levi about her experience with the tool Lovable as we continue our series on AI and product management. Let's dive in. How are you, Elena?
Great. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Hello, Moshe.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Elena. Welcome. You're joining us today from Israel, I believe.
Yes, I am.
Unless you're traveling somewhere. So you are in Israel. Okay, amazing.
I am in Israel. I'm having great weather.
Oh, I see. Yeah, here it's already fall. Beautiful trees, but it's getting chilly.
Yeah, it's starting to cool off down here as well.
Amazing. And today we are going to talk about Lovable. But before we dive into the product, we'd love to hear about you. Tell us a bit about yourself and how did you get to product management and did you get to where you are today?
Okay, so hi, I'm Elena. I've been doing product and data for the past 15 years. Today, I just recently started a new job, so I'm a director of product management and Payoneer. Really, really excited about it. And the way I got into product management is that my first role was a data analyst. I fell in love with data. I worked with a lot of product managers. It's going to be a little bit of funny story because actually I looked at this role and I said, okay, this is really cool. This is something that I feel like I have the tools and I want to do that. And then I worked with several product managers quite a lot, and I said, maybe it's not for me. I think I will do data. And I did data for 7 years. I really loved it, really, really enjoyed it. And after about 7 years, I was like, okay, no, now it's time to move to product. And this is what I've been doing for the past 8 years. I've been managing product teams and doing a lot of product. Most of my products, actually, all of them have been very data focused, very machine learning products, predictive analytics, fraud protection. So yeah, this is this is my journey with product, and I'm really excited. I love product, and I do a lot of talks about how to get into product. And usually I start with, it's not what you think. Everybody wants to be a product manager, but not everybody understand what it is. And many people, I feel, get into it for the wrong reasons, or they think that as a product, like every time someone says, why do you want to be a product manager? Because I want to be calling the shots. I know what the strategic direction is, and I want to be a leader. I'm like, not for you. Go away. Think of something else. So
Mhm.
that's my take on product.
Mhm. That's a good
That's,
take because we do
yeah.
know that it's not really about that, and many times we don't have much choices about which decisions to make.
And that's
But
great to hear about your background as well, coming from data and analytics as well. That's an area that I worked in, and
Yeah.
how I wandered into product is like the data and analytics didn't have a product mind. Like, you build things and you work with data, but you don't have a product perspective in that domain. That's what kind of led me into product as well. So it's kind of cool to hear you come from that background.
I love it. I think that like our job as product managers is to ask why. This is like the main, like if you try
Hmm.
and do it on one thing, it's asking why. It's not telling you what you need to do, is asking you what, why is it going on? And asking questions, and being a product manager has a lot of like data is a huge part of it. So
Hmm.
I'm really passionate about data. And so
So it's
this
good.
is
It's a good match over there. And
Yep.
yeah, when we started the podcast in the first couple of years, you were all about the data and analytics, Matt. Now that you're many more years into product and also with all the AI coming in and stuff like that, you're talking less about that, but it's still your passion, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but AI does a lot of that already. So, I was also a data analyst, and I see data analyst, that's basically a lot of what AI does now. You can feed it an Excel workbook, and it can produce charts and graphs and build dashboards for you. So, I think like roles like data analyst, you have to up your game, because those kind of things I think will ultimately be replaced in some aspect by AI.
I cannot be more skeptical around this. I'm
Good.
sorry. This is one
Good.
of
That's
the
good.
areas. This is one of the areas because I would say that the main problem is garbage in, garbage out.
Hmm.
Every time I see some analysis, it can do a great job, right? But it's all about I think that in the end you will have to have a person. It's actually we can actually tie it to the topic of today, but I think that in the end it's a tool that empowers analysts, but you will
Hmm.
still have to have someone with a data mindset, thinking about data, asking the questions. This is also one of the reasons I'm a bit concerned about just adding chats in your platforms and saying, "Hey, now everybody could democratize data and ask data
Hmm.
questions." And I'm like, no, no, that's dangerous. People will get to the wrong conclusions. Like, so
$100%.
I'm a bit more concerned about it's much easier for me to imagine vibe coding and giving PMs tools to do self-serve than to give everybody self-serve data. But that's me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. But that's where data analyst needs to up their game. Where upping their
Yes.
game is really about getting the data right.
Right.
And stuff like that. Or part of it is that.
Hmm.
Amazing. So let's start maybe diving into the topic for today. And we're talking today about Lovable. And Lovable, I think, is probably the most known product out there for creating products without writing code. And it's not a no-code product because it does create code at the end of the day. It's a prompting product. Would you call it a vibe coding?
Yes, I think it fits the same category.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not categorizing it right, right? We'll leave that to Deloitte, etc. But I would say that it's when I evaluated when I evaluated Lovable, I also checked all the other vibe coding tools, Base 44 and other ones that are similar in that category.
Yeah. The only reason I'm asking this question is because I do sometimes get confused myself whether vibe coding, by definition, is writing prompts to create code. So developers are doing that as well when they use maybe Cursor or other products that are not full product, but they're
Yeah.
creating code and then they bring it into their code base. Or it's also tools like Lovable and Base 44 and others that are creating the full product for you. That's the main thing that I'm thinking about. Is that considered vibe coding or not, right? But I think that it still remain to be seen out there where it will evolve into.
Yeah, when I was coming up with the intro for the show, I just said tool because I see them as like prototyping tools right now. Like a vibe coding, I think vibe coding is still pretty nebulous and not always clearly defined. Like, okay, you're vibe coding, but are you actually producing stuff that you can put into production? Are you actually building things that are real, or are you just making things that are cool? So yeah, I still think that a lot of that kind of needs to be ironed out, like in the long run with these tools. But
Mm.
yeah, I'd love to get your take on that, Elena.
I think that you know I don't know if I'm the person to define it, but I would say that for me, vibe coding would be anything that you don't necessarily that you would open it as a prompt, say what problem you're trying to solve, provide the definitions in English of what you're gaining, and you will get something that is shippable. Now we can discuss if this is something that we can actually now give to a developer to add to the code, if it's something that it can be a one-off application that I can just push a button and it goes to the web, or what do I do with it? But I think that the idea is that I describe what I want, we do some iterations, the magic happens. And this is for me vibe coding, like it
Mm,
the what you're doing with it in the end. So yes, in a way, Kelsa would also be vibe coding in some essence,
mm.
or vibe like assistant. It varies, I would
Yeah.
say, but it is crazy what Cursor is doing and like how everybody is using it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Okay, cool. So let's talk about Lovable. It is, being very frank about it. And usually I try not to give my opinion about products because, I don't want to bias people. But on the other end, we all have our own biases. I did try Lovable while I was trying some other tools, and it didn't really give me the results I was expecting. So right away, I didn't really trust it. And that to me is the main thing about AI products, like that trust level. So tell
Mhm.
us first, how did you get into choosing Lovable? And then maybe through that you will tell us about some of the features and whatever. But then we can also dive a bit deeper into how do you use it.
So until recently, I was working at a startup for predictive analytics called Voyantis. And one of the things we did, it's a really cool startup. We provide predictive analytics for user acquisition and marketing. And the customers of Voyantis are paying. It's quite an expensive service, great value, so great. But the idea is that customers are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for the service, for the algorithms that will predict and optimize their return on ad spend investment.
Mhm.
Now, as part of that, the product was running, but there was no customer-facing product. And one of my jobs was to create a customer-facing product with dashboards and back office and a design system. So like a fully blown solution that until then it was like the algorithm was working, but it was mostly connecting to the customers' data warehouses and giving like taking data from them, doing its magic, providing data back in S3 files or whatever similar ways, but no customer-facing product. So this was one of my jobs. So me and the tech lead, we started working and understanding how to build a product, and we went the old-fashioned way. So basically, we started working with front-end developers. We took a design system, so a startup, and everything is quick, but still the old-fashioned way. And then it was around, I would say, March. And then our CEO came and said, "Wait, guys, why are you giving me such a long projection? Like, why are you saying that this product will be ready within a few months?" My friend, someone, or not my friend, like our CEO, COO, recently just played with Base 44 and looked at this amazing app that he created on his weekend. Why can't you just do that? And I'm like, okay, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
You cannot build a SaaS product based on Lovable.
Hmm.
This does not make sense. However, let us see what we can do. So what we did, and this was actually a really cool practice, we decided to stop what we're doing for about a week and play with AI and see how it can help us to do what we're doing faster. So we
Hmm.
started paying for various tools in terms of so I checked like Base 44 and I checked Lovable and I checked a lot of things, and we started looking at what can interact with Figma and what is out of the box, not out of the box, stuff like
Hmm.
that. And while we were playing, my goals were, so there are several things. One was prototyping. Okay, so making sure that we can actually visualize and make the flow of. So we're still in design. We're still in the discovery mode. The designer is giving us screens in Figma, and then we still need to understand what is the right flow. We still need to decide on the colors, on the format, on the layout, how will it work in the back office, etc. And we have developers waiting to develop things and so on. So what we discovered, bottom line, is that for prototyping, Lovable was amazing because we were able to take the flow that the designer did, put them in Lovable, basically a screenshot. You upload the screenshot, you create several of, like with very light prompting, explain what you do. And this was a very, very good tool for us to tell the developers, hey, this is how it should look like, to hash out the um, experience and the behavior and what is connected to what, and to actually see for ourselves how will it look like. And this saved us a lot of hours,
Hmm.
because in the classic way, and here I think, so here's the thing, we didn't came out of this process saying, okay, we don't need to develop anything, we don't need front-end developers, let's just like send them home and ship a vibe coding app. No,
Right.
you cannot do this in a SaaS or like it's not, I don't think it's a good idea. Not to
Hmm.
mention that when we started looking at what is happening and what can be do, so one of the things we chose Lovable for was the ability to actually see the code, to see what it's doing behind the scenes, because again, our goal with this was to design it, to do some usability testing, to understand what's going on, and then develop it ourselves. We tried, we saw if the original idea was to see if it can generate code we can actually integrate. But
Hmm.
we understood that this is not the case. Also, there are security concerns, there's data privacy concerns, there's a lot of issues. What happens when there's bugs? So like one of the things that happening with vibe coding, and in one way it's no, like, I'm not going to sugarcoat. It's really annoying. Basically, you tell the vibe coding, "Hey, this is great. Don't change anything except this button. Make this button green." And the vibe coding goes, "No problem. I made this button green." And the button is still red, not green,
Thousand
but
percent.
everything else changed. Like, why? Everything else was really good. So
Yes.
we started, by the way, I also started working with versioning to make sure that it works. I wanted to connect it to GitHub. I wanted to be able to control the versioning and stuff. And for example, this is one of the reasons, by the way, we didn't went with base 44, because base 44 at that point did not give you the access to the code. And also we wanted to see how the back office will work. So the Lovable is connected with Superbase,
Hmm.
which is not robust enough for things we actually need for the platform, but
Hmm.
still it is some giving you some databasing capabilities. It gives you a little bit of backend, and it provides like the full experience, which other tools didn't necessarily have. So to wrap it up, what we did and the problem we tried to solve was we initially checked to see if we can actually use this in production. The answer was no, we're not going to use this in production for many, many reasons. What we did end up using is for several things. One, prototyping
Hmm.
10 times faster than before. The PM and the designer can do things live, they can interact. It's really fast. It's really easy to check variants. It's not costly to check 5 different layout variations. This is one thing. You can send it easily to people. You can give it to customers. I used to go into customer meetings with my full roadmap on the screen, with lots of screens and saying, "Okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'm going to go into a new screen. Like, tell me what you expect." And then you can even like change it on the fly. Like, is this what you had in
Hmm.
mind? Just to get the
Yep.
feeling. This is like crazy. Um, and we also sent it to the developers and said, "Hey guys, this is like what we had in mind. This is the behavior exactly." So all of this worked really, really well. And the second thing, I don't know if you have questions about that. We can go in deep into that. The
I have
second thing we
lots of
did,
questions about everything, but go ahead. Go ahead.
yes, just let me tell you the second topic of what we
Yeah.
did. So
Go
we
for
used
it.
that we ended up using it for prototyping, and I would love to discuss more. The second thing we did is product sets interviews.
Mhm.
So we decided to see how will it work instead of a product sense interview or a home assignment, we would actually sit them in a room with Lovable and tell them, "Hey, this is your job. Create this." And it has mixed results. On one hand, it's really, really cool because you see how product people interact with it. And it instead of like just working on a whiteboard, it really changes the picture. So you see how it's much more practical. On the other hand, at one point I started wondering where is like, am I hiring Lovable or am I hiring this
Hmm.
PM? Like
Yep.
where are the boundaries and etc. Like when does it become like a cookie cutter? But the second thing we did is interviews with it and to evaluate your product skills, which is also a really interesting use case for that.
Yeah.
Uh, on that second point, that's great to hear. 'Cause you do hear that on places like LinkedIn and stuff like that, that people are starting to incorporate these as part of the interview process. So it's good to hear you mention that. I know we have tons of questions about the first point as well. I like how you note the use of Figma, the use of having context, like you had something to start. and then you went to Lovable to like prototype and work with it. Because what I found in there, if you don't give AI context or an understanding of like a starting place, like it's just going to struggle. Like you can't be like, hey, create me a SaaS app that does X, because it's just going to go off and do whatever it kind of wants to. Where you have to give it that, like, hey, we did designs, we did the work, we thought through this stuff, and now we want you to help be a partner and take us to the next level. So I really like that point you called out.
Thank you. You know also what works if you don't have design yet? It's a tip I read is to give it a reference point of a competitor or something. So you can
Hmm.
say, I tried it, it sort of works. You can say, okay, give me this design, take Apple as a reference, take this
Oh
company as
yeah.
a reference, and you give it like screenshots or stuff like that. And then it also, but yes, you cannot give it too complicated things. I also learned that you can't just give it a big PRD and say go. You have to break it down into small bites and
Hmm.
step by step and roll it back if it doesn't work. It's like the premise is amazing. The practice,
Hmm.
you have to learn how to use the tools. Otherwise, you're just getting, same with data, junking, garbage in, garbage out. You have to
Yeah.
learn how to use it.
Right.
Let's park that for a minute. I do want to hear a bit more about those gotchas in a second, but a few things that you mentioned over there, and those things are developing really, really quickly. So we know that already these days, some of the products that you mentioned, like Base 44, they do have much more functionality that he didn't have at the time. So when you chose Lovable, they didn't have access to the code, but these days they do have access to the code, and you can export the code and do whatever you want with that. They didn't, I don't know if they had back then backend and database. Now they do have a backend, and
Mhm.
actually with Base 44, it's all within the same product, where with Lovable, you do need to integrate with the Superbase, right?
Yes, but I do want to explain the use case. It's not that we couldn't export the code, is that I
Okay.
wanted the developer to be able to, from their own code, to say, now make this button red, and I want it to be affected in Lovable
Mm.
because they're trying things in cursors, they're trying things, and then like this is the interaction I wanted, not just give me the code, but I
Uh,
want to be able afterwards to actually control it with code. And this is something that in at the time Lovable were the only team that provided. But
so yeah,
also
so I don't really
it's
have,
like it's a race. Like I'm sure that in five
yeah.
minutes things will change.
And that's
Hmm.
that's the thing. I mean, we are a bit unfortunate with this format of sharing information with people that it becomes stale very, very quickly. And even the decision making becomes stale very, very quickly. Because you were talking about making this decision in March
Mhm.
or April this year. And we are now in November. In the past, this would not have changed much. And we know we have episodes that are more than 4 years old. That some of the information over there is still relevant today, even though the products did evolve over time. But they're still basically the same product as they were 4 years ago.
Mhm.
So I don't know. We'll have to see what we're doing about that. But that's a different
But
problem to solve.
Yes.
I will give you my take, and this is something that I did put into consideration, that you need the idea of the tools is a little bit similar. So it doesn't matter if it's, I don't know, like with the, I don't know which format of, if it's going to be which format will win in the end, and who will be the market leader. But as a PM, the way I work with any vibe coding tool is exactly the same. So the skill set is the same.
Hmm.
The way you need to take a big chunk and break it into pieces is the same. The way that what you can do with it is the same, and the tools will be interchangeable. It's like it
Hmm.
doesn't really matter. So
I'm finding that as well. I've used Lovable, I've used Base 44, and I've also used Figma Mate. So if well, we have
yeah,
Figma
try
use.
them.
Yeah, so it works really well for what I need. If I just want to do some mock-ups, and I think you have to just be used to using whatever works in the moment and whatever you have availability to, because some companies aren't going to use Lovable, they're going to use something else. I think being able to be flexible is going to be key for all this.
Definitely. And the products evolve all the time. I also tried
Hmm.
Bolt at the time. I tried other things, and but yes, in the end, it's like it's the same methodology, the same concepts.
Right.
Don't. Uh, Lovable did good job at user delight, actually. It's funny because like it's in their name, but they have like small things that make you feel like, okay, I'm actually loving this product. On the
Mhm.
other hand, don't fall in love with a vibe coding tool. Like
Yeah.
it will change.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, the part where you mentioned about, that frustration of like, hey, I want to change this button to red. And it says, "Oh, great, I can do that. I've changed the button to red." Like, no, you actually didn't do that. Like, even though it's a small thing, it's still like a point of like frustration. You're like, "No, you actually did not do that."
Yeah, it happened to me a few times, and I did hear, I think, someone recently saying that I don't remember who it was, but they said that the amount of times and how fast they got frustrated with the AI and vibe coding was way more than anything that happened to them with any of their developers in the past. So we're also because it's not human, we are allowing
That's it.
ourselves maybe to get frustrated with
I
it
think that's part of it. Yeah.
much faster.
Psychological. Yep. I
I
think it's a
have I have a,
psychological thing.
I have an analogy for you that I used in a different talk.
Uh-huh.
Imagine that you're driving, you're going into a cab somewhere and the driver is really bad. You come out of the cab and what do you say? Oh my God, this driver was bad. I don't want to drive with them. Let's say that you go on an autonomous car and everything is perfect, but at the end the car like goes with one wheel on the sidewalk. What is your conclusion? Autonomous vehicles are not good enough.
Yes.
That's it. Their bar is supposed to be perfect. I think that's like we're like, oh, they're just supposed to be perfect 100% of the time because they're machines, right? So yeah, we set the
Yes.
bar too high versus humans. So that's a good analogy. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I, I think it's also like I don't expect to, and this ties back to the point we made in in the beginning. I think that I still want a designer in the team. I still want a developer, definitely want a developer in the team. I still want a product manager in the team. I want all of them to do what they do much, much faster and close the loop much, much faster. So I think that my expectation from Lovable or for any other vibe coding tool is to do prototyping, to
Mhm.
do usability testing, to put on the screen all the things that I would love to test really, really quickly and change really quickly and see the designs. I do not expect it to be pixel perfect because it's starting to feel generic. Like everything, it's doing a not so bad job in terms of UI UX, but it's missing the extra human touch, and I don't expect it to actually necessarily solve my UI bugs. This is something that hypothetically is possible, but it's just too frustrating.
Interesting. That's interesting. I do want to maybe talk a little more about what you said that you cannot give it a PRD and just expect it to work. Actually don't like the term PRD, and I don't even understand why it's being used these days in 2025. But there are still a lot of product people out there talking about PRDs. But in general, I did see someone that actually put together, he's coming from engineering perspective, but he's also demonstrated this to me on Lovable. It's not a PRD, but to me, it looks like a PRD. So he was giving it in the context of teaching it to startup founders that try to do everything on their own. I don't think they actually got it because their background is not our background. But the idea there was to write all the requirements that you have in one document and then to execute it. And then every change that you want to make to keep adding it to that document. So it doesn't matter, what you call it, if you call it PRD or something else, or if you write it in regular language or whatever language you write it. Well, it needs to be in human language because otherwise, the those vibe coding products will not get it. But what was your experience with that, and why do you recommend not to do it?
So I tried. This is also so one of the things I highly recommend for everyone is actually to search tips for vibe coding because it really makes the difference. And or just take the long run, take the long road and learn by experience. But one of the recommendations to save tokens is to tell it the front because in the end, like every sentence, every enter I push, it costs me tokens. And one of the best practice to save on tokens is to write a document upfront. By the way, another best practice is to write what you want, put it into a different AI tool like Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever. Tell it, give me a prompt for vibe coding, make a nice long prompt with all the information, and put this prompt into Lovable. So this is one of the best practices. Now, theoretically, it's great. What I did find out is that when you tell him, I want a system that has these 5 different features, you will get a nice dashboard, and the other features are not going to be built. They're just going to be named on the sidebar. So
It will
it's,
just do the framework or the thing around it, but not the entire thing.
yes, completely. And I tried it over and over. I tried it with other tools as well. So you say, okay, this is everything I want. So it's not that it cannot get into details, but you will only get like 1 page usually. 1 page, maybe 2 pages. Um, I don't know. Maybe the tool is lazy. Maybe they understand that they don't want to reuse the tokens. Maybe it's a time thing. Okay, I don't know why this limitation happens, but what I did find out is that if I break it into pieces and I say, okay, here is a screen I want. This is what I want to do it. Let's get into details. Then I will get one screen, and then I will say, okay, great. Now this is the second screen I want. This is how you get into it. I'm getting much, much better results than if I'm telling it up front. I have no idea why it's happening, but it is consistent throughout various tools that I tried.
Understand. Okay. So you might want to have your own documents on the side somewhere, but don't feed the entire thing to the vibe coding, but rather breaking down. Maybe that's their
Yeah.
way to fight the
Buy more tokens.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, the tokens. But at the end of
I,
the day, at the end of the day, it's really a combination of all of those tools that kind of don't work together yet to use a few tokens here, a few tokens here, a few tokens there.
Another thing that's working, another thing that is like a good tip that I've noticed is that it's really like the first prompt is the most important one. So you want to give it the guidelines. And the moment like you started a project, and let's say that I wanted my project pink, and it did something. After it did the first initial things, you can build on top of it. You can say, great, now do this, now do that, now
Mhm.
do this. But it's almost impossible to change its mind. Even if you say, no, 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 go back one, like forget my last thing. No, nothing. It will still take the first design. So one of the things I've learned is that I'm trying to make the basic fit what I need. If it doesn't work, I just delete the project and start a new project. I get the framework, the very, very basic of like, this is what we're going to do. And then I built on top of that because otherwise changing it's really, really hard.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of going back to the Figma and doing those designs initially, again, giving it those guardrails or context, like, hey, this is how it's going to look or how it needs to look. And this is the, what I expect in the original experience. You're setting it up for success. I mean, it's almost like a person, like instead of giving a person a wild adventure, you kind of give it some sort of guidelines. Hey, this is what we're heading towards and what we're trying to build, and this is what it should look like. You kind of teaching it bits and bytes of information work because it doesn't have to overthink things.
I also read some people saying that first they are just talking with it without building anything to kind of see what it thinks about what it should do. I don't know if you've tried that.
I have not tried that, but I also came with a very strict goal. I haven't tried consulting with it. I
Mhm.
did try it on like Gemini, ChatGPT, and stuff like that,
Right.
but I've not tried to put it in Lovable.
Well,
Or
at the end of the day, is Lovable using also those LLMs, or do they have their own?
so last time I checked, you could have actually chose which one, so you can choose different ones. They opened it for a hackathon a few months ago, and there was a weekend you could do whatever you want. So I went in and I played with it quite a lot. I don't know what's the best practice and what one, but it actually was a really interesting, from a product side, it was a very interesting way to get a lot of new people to try your tool and also to actually have a very good experience in people checking different models. So it was brilliant on their part. I have no
Mhm.
idea how much it cost them, which is an interesting, another
Yeah,
interesting thing to check.
yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Now they're still using me. I mentioned it earlier, but in Lovable, you still have to have, at least when I tried it a few weeks ago, I had to create an account at Supabase, connect it with Lovable before I was able to use that. So I think that's still the
Hmm.
case. I don't think they have their own backend and database.
No, but I think you only get to it when you need it. So they're partnering with Superbase, but you don't necessarily need like it depends what you want to achieve. So for
Mm,
example, for prototyping, you don't need to connect to any Superbase. You just like tell it what to do, and it works. The moment you actually want a database, and the moment you actually want to create a backend and states and for the buttons to actually do something, then you need Superbase.
right. So the prototyping is really, I mean, depends also on what level of prototyping you want to do. If it is a live prototype that has some data, then you probably need that. If it is more of like a Figma type of prototypes that it's all fake, then
Hmm.
maybe then you don't need it.
So I did it mostly for discovery and for some usability, for some discovery usability testing. So I used it for several. So I tried to solve several problems. Problem one was to understand which screens I should start with and what is the next screen I want to build.
Hmm.
Problem two is that the moment I had a screen and I decided that this is what my customers like. I actually went into meetings and I showed customers, hey, this is roughly a roadmap. Don't get too excited. This is a complete mock and this is not how it's going to look like. But here's like the full-blown solution of what I'm thinking. Take it, tell me what you think. Like navigate, open discussion. Things that I would before that, if I would have done it, I would not do it on the entire system
Yeah,
because I would have to prioritize my designer. And
yeah.
this gave me the option to just like full blown, here are 10 different screens. Let's discuss.
Mm.
Second thing is that the moment I have a screen and the moment I know which problem I want to solve next, I can try various designs for the same thing to see how it works. Now, here it's a combination of the designer and the product manager, right? Maybe an analyst to understand what is the right way and to provide it actual insights. So in this case, I actually took some of the designs of the designers. Of the designer, I put it in Lovable and I did light usability testing. For that, also, I don't necessarily need Superbase. When I did it for the backend system, I had Superbase and it was hard for me. I got into problems with the permissions, etc.
Mm.
My R&D lead backed me up and solved lots of my problems. He was my support with that because I didn't know what to do, it was his project. He shared it with me, so he logged into Superbase. I tried to change something, didn't work. We ended up also using all of the free credits for Superbase, so hitting a limit, and then
Hmm.
the prototype didn't work when I needed it in a customer meeting. I didn't know why.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
it's not. It has a lot of hiccups, but it's not
I see.
perfect. On the
Yeah,
other hand, it is what I liked about Superbase is that I can actually log into the database and I can see the rows and I can change things. It was much more database oriented
yeah.
than what Base 44 had at the time.
At the time,
But
right?
again,
Because now they have it.
y-
Yeah,
yeah, but again, I'm not falling in love with the tool
yeah.
specifically. I think
Absolutely.
that the practice here is the concept of vibe coding as a tool for product managers.
Yeah, but that's really good discussion to have because some of the things I had in mind based on my experience was building an entire product,
Hmm.
and that product needed to have data and needed to have database in it. So that's why I would say that, and maybe that will be my next question to you. Maybe you didn't try that, but if you want to create an MVP that will you will give to the clients, you will know maybe that you will have to go back and rebuild everything later on. By definition, MVPs are like that. Would you use Lovable for that? Lovable and Supabase?
For B2B product, no.
Hmm.
For side project that I want to do, a lean startup, yes.
Hmm.
The problem is that I see a lot of people publish on LinkedIn or in other places. Hey, I built this side project in the weekend and it's really, really cool. And then you log into it and half of the things don't work.
Hmm.
And I'm being generous. So for example, just recently I saw a tool that they built for kids, and I said, great. I tried to do that the same thing. I tried to build a small game recently, several vibe coding tools. I tried to build small things, and I get frustrated really quick.
Hmm.
It's not a full experience. And again, the question is, I think for proving a concept, it's crazy amazing. It's really, really cool. It's also really good at actually giving developers an explanation of, okay, this is what we have in mind. This is the flow. Let's for UX purposes, amazing.
Yeah.
For as a finished product, I don't like it.
Mm.
Yeah.
I know you can get it much better. I know that you have there's a big discussion today about how it's easy to make fraud with it and how it's easy
Hmm.
to have a site look amazing and with drop shipping and everything, it's like a whole solution. Amazing. From my experience, it's getting frustrating really quick. It doesn't look finished. You still need a product manager, a designer, and a developer to build a product. Um, so yes, I would not do, so for B2B, I would not do that. For B2C, if I want to try something really quick, if I want to try that variants, yes, maybe. But then again, I would want to make sure that still, even with B2C, that there are no privacy issues, that there are no other problems it can generate, that people won't hate my product just because they will get frustrated because of issues that a vibe coding tool did.
Hmm. Can get you 80% of the way there, but that 20% needs that professional touch. It needs the developers and the engineering to get you over the hump because otherwise we're just going to run around with a bunch of junky products if we don't have the
You, you,
professionalism.
I really connect to it because I think it gets you like 90% there.
Hmm.
And it's like,
Yeah.
wow, the initial reaction is, wow, this is amazing. This is exactly what I wanted. And then you're like,
When you
wait a minute.
poke and prod, when you start scrutinizing it and poking and prodding at it, it starts to like
I
fall
think the
apart.
10% or 20% is the hardest part. You
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's the core of it. And it's not only, to make the product actually working, but after that for maintenance and et cetera. Even if you have developers, I don't think developers want to maintain these type of products because I don't know if your developers looked at the code that it was generating. What did they say?
It was actually a very interesting reaction as well, because when we tried to, again, the tech lead and I, Yossi, he's amazing. We played it ourselves, and we had the same reaction. At first, it's like, "Oh my God, this is magic! It's everything we ever wanted." And then it's like, it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. This is not what we want, and it's a roller coaster. And in the end, you learned what 80% you can ask for it, what you can't ask for it, etc. And when we introduced it to our developers, and we said, "Okay, we figured it out. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's, by the way, how Cursor interacts with Figma, which is amazing. This is the Lovable. This is everything. Like, here's what we're gonna do." And they had the same reaction. They were like, in the beginning, they were like, okay, maybe we should start. One of the developers actually said, you know what? I think I should study plumbing. Plumbing is not gonna go out of the of
Go
the
out of
needs.
style. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. If I want to have my job security, I should study plumbing. And then after a while, they started really liking it. They did not like the code that Lovable generated. They thought that there are many ways, especially that you can make more efficient. It collects, again, in terms of privacy of data, in terms of security breaches, in terms of many, many things that you would do. Like it calls out libraries that you don't need, or it generate things it's not necessarily the most efficient code. However, I do have a feeling that if we'll wait 5 minutes, it will
Hmm.
change. So it still requires a lot of handling. I would not, again, at this moment, I would not put the code in production as is. We tried it. We said, okay, let's see if we can actually use it for our front-end libraries. No, we decided that it's not good enough, that we don't have enough control. But maybe it will change in the future as well.
we've talked to some designers as well, and I love working with designers and curious how they perceive these tools as well. They're obviously very proud of the work they do and very excited about the work they do, and they're very intentional in what they do with customers. And so, how does your experience with designers and these products going?
I think it's in the what's in it for me.
Mm,
So I think that for the designer, what's in it for them is that they get to do usability testing almost immediately.
mm,
They don't need to build. I didn't try to do mock in Figma, but I do know that it's quite tedious, or used to be quite tedious before Figma Make. I don't know how. I tried it a little, but I don't know how good it is yet. So creating the entire flow is quite tedious. So this saves them a lot of time. And I don't think none of these tools replace the professionals,
hmm
but they do shorten the time that they do take away a lot of the tedious work that they need to do, and it requires an open mindset. So I think that if you are in tech today in 2025, if you don't agree to work with AI and you feel like it's taking your job, maybe you should look into plumbing. You need to learn how to use the tool. It's like
hmm
you need to learn how to use the tools. You need to see how it makes how it makes you more efficient, and learn the limitation, because you're still really needed. A designer, like, it doesn't provide perfect design. It doesn't provide perfect UX. It doesn't think of all the edge cases. It doesn't know your customers. I know that a good designer knows the pains of its customers. He knows how to segment. He knows what types of users they have. They know all the edge cases. I don't expect any vibe coding tool to give me that.
Mhm.
But I do expect it to do a lot of the work that maybe a junior developer, a junior designer, a junior product manager would do for hours. And I do expect it to do out of the box. So, like, we all need to level up our game with our spare time. So, but my designer quite liked the experience working with it. Again, first initial reaction was, why do we need it? I know my
hmm
Figma. Second or third reaction was, okay, this is quite cool. I understand where it meets me. In the end, I do want to continue working with, like, we figure out what works and then we take it to Figma and we make it pixel perfect.
hmm
And maybe
Okay.
the conundrum that we are going to see there is exactly about that, the juniors, how that is hard for them as it is to find jobs sometimes, how they will become non-juniors but proficient if we replace them by AI, and then they have to to really hone their work. So I know that in some organizations they're not allowed to use AI or to start, so they have to deal with situations. In other organizations, it's the contrary. They're the one bringing AI. So it's going to be remain to see, where that goes exactly.
That's such a fascinating problem, but I will say something condescending. I'm really happy that I'm not a junior at the
Me
moment.
too. Me too. I had it
Yeah.
in my head. I'm glad you said it, but
hmm
Yes, I'm a guest, so you can always blame me and say it was a wrong decision. No, I'm really happy that I'm not a junior at the moment. But it is like, it's a new way, it's a new thing, and they will learn. So they will probably focus on the skills. I'm going to assume that the skills, the basic skills that they need to learn, they still need to learn it, and it might be worthwhile learning it and doing things old school. But still, like, they're gonna get if I'm putting my pink glasses on or whatever, they're going to have the fun of doing all the fun things of the roles. So they're gonna have the fun of actually doing the thought about designing things
I
and
think
what
that,
focusing
yeah,
on the problems and focusing on the things that we all love about our jobs,
and the
designers,
things that
product managers,
we
developers.
hmm
yeah, the things that we never had time to do because we were so much into the hard work of creating documents and stuff like
Right.
Yeah.
that.
So they're gonna do so instead of doing 80-20 of the job that you came to the role to do and 80% of the things you have to do because you have to, there that you put on juniors, they
Yeah,
will get the benefit of 80% of doing 80% of what they really love and 20%
yeah,
of doing it with AI. But it does mean that less juniors are required. So in the past, you would have a team of like, I don't know, you would need we in my previous role, we actually originally thought that we need four front end developers for the team, and we ended up saying, okay, no, we only need two. We don't need any more. We're good.
Mhm.
So, and this is gonna still happen with all of these roles.
yeah.
Yep.
No, I love that perspective. I don't have any more questions. What about you, Matt?
I don't have any immediate questions. I think this has been a fascinating conversation, really insightful, and I think we could continue to dive down this path. And just thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun. I want to come again and talk about something else. It was really, really fun.
You're always
You're always
welcome. We
welcome.
would love to have
Yes,
you. We do
we would
have
love
some
to.
guests that are coming more than once, so absolutely,
Yes,
we can talk
you're
about
always
other
welcome.
opportunities. In the meantime, where can people reach out to you?
I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so you can find me there, Elena Levi. You can reach me. You can use email, old school.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate this. Thank you, Moshe. Thank you to all the listeners, and we'll talk to everybody next time. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.